once again, welcome to class. This is EduTop Scholar. Alright, and of course, we are still in GNS 111, Citizenship Education. In the last class, I told us that we're going to be looking at the other parts of the topic about citizenship education, the meaning, the scope, the benefit of studying, and of course, how it can be acquired. So welcome to this class again. Our focus will now be on what we call the fundamental human rights. Alright, the fundamental human rights. Let me just start by saying that any political society you see, any country, any nation, they have what we call fundamental human rights, which is just their belief or their arrangement as to what are the advantages, the benefits, or the privileges of their citizens will be as they run their country. So this topic, fundamental human rights. And what does it mean? It gives citizens their sense of is our country. And these are the things we must also enjoy as we are part of this nation. So we'll be looking at the meaning. After we straight out, we're going to go into the rights of citizens, or we say the content of what contains in the fundamental human rights. So let's go straight into it. Now, so fundamental human rights, it talks about the different benefits, all right, citizens of your country are entitled to. All right, this talks about legal privileges, of citizens for being a member of a particular society. And of course, Nigeria and almost all the nations of the world, in fact, globally, it is believed that every nation must clearly spell out the provisions it affords the citizens. That is, the right of citizens must be contained in all the constitution of every democratic state. I don't want to go into talking about why I say democratic state, because maybe in military society or dictatorship and all, those things might not even be the case. However, if it is a democracy, and what is a democracy? A democracy government is a government where the people voted the leader. So we are saying, if you have voted the leader, then the leader in return must do some things for you. Alright, because according to John Locke, even governments are like secretary that can be hired and fired. So when you pick up the government and they are not doing well, you can send them out of office. But maybe that's not the case for many of our African nations. So we just want to demand more accountability from our leaders. Okay, straight to business. So what is fundamental human rights? This can simply be defined as a collection of rights, duties, obligations, and limitations of citizens in any society. Simply put, fundamental human rights can be defined as the collection of duties, rights, obligations, and limitations of citizens of any state. So it talks about what you are free to enjoy. Number two, it talks about what you're also going to do. Also talks about what you cannot do and the functions of government within the society that we can easily understand. So straight to the other ones, like I said, is a collection of many things. Number one, we call it the content of the fundamental human rights. And this talks about what you must enjoy for being in Nigeria, wherever you are watching from, what your government must do for you, and what you must be enjoying for being a member of that state. There are many of them. I'm just going to mention these few and discuss them. Now look at something. Anytime there is a right, there must also be a limitation to it. Do you know why? When there are no limitations, people can go over the board. So the first right of any citizen, in fact, according to John Locke, the number one right of any citizen anywhere in the world is right to life. According to John Locke, right to life states that every citizen must be allowed to live. They must not be killed. Their living must not be tampered with. So if there's anything whatsoever that seems like an infringement or that wants to tamper their living or their existence, that thing must be carefully removed out of their lives. So every government must ensure that the lives of their citizens are preserved. So right to life is about one of the most fundamental rights of any citizen. Whatever wants to affect their life, you must easily avoid it. So what does this now mean? It means that nobody must take the life of any citizen. And number two, no danger must be looked upon to take away their life in whatever situation. So right to life means citizens must live. That is, they must be alive, they must be in existence by whatever situation. So, however, is there any limitation to right to life? Yes, because we have said that nobody must kill a citizen, they must be living their life. But do you know that this same government that can take a life of their citizen? They can take the life. How and when? When the citizen now does something that is against the law of the land. For example, anyone that takes the life of another is not worthy to live. That's what we call murder. So what we are saying, that somebody right to life means that I have right to live, I must live. Yes, you can. But when a man now becomes a taker of other lives, such a person is no longer worthy to live within the society. The second one is political rights, and this one states that a citizen has right to vote and be voted for any political position. Which means if you're a Nigerian, alright, you have right to vote, most especially when you're already 18. So that can be an exception to this right also. A man must be 18 before this right is activated. Number two, a man who has criminal offense or in most times or who has done some things against the law of the land, this right could be negotiated. So that could be an exception to political rights. And also, do you also know that right to be voted for, right to vote is confirmed at 18, but to be voted for, in most cases, has some other extensions. For example, maybe a man might not be able to be a president until a particular certain age. Although we know about the not too young to rule law that has been passed into law in Nigeria. However, you can be sure that there could be exception to what you can be voted for, most especially in this our Nigerian political landscape. So the third one is freedom of movement. This right states that every citizen must be allowed to move according to their will and interest. They can go anywhere, you can walk in the streets, you can go anywhere, you can do anything, most especially as far as mobilization and movement is concerned. It also means you can travel anywhere within Nigeria. It also means that you can move at any time without anybody stopping you. However, there is a limitation or there are limitations. Because all these rights you are seeing, they are only approved by law. So anytime the law decides to withdraw any from a man, they are already withdrawn. So right to life that we said earlier, when the law says no, you are not, this one is no longer worthy to live, at that moment, that person has lost this right already. Right to be voted for. If the law says no, this one is already convicted and as such cannot be voted for or cannot even vote, that right is already withdrawn. The third one, even freedom of movement. When the government says when they declare state of emergency, for example, maybe there is a war in a particular society or in a state, and they say, so in that state, we are declaring a state of emergency. What it means is that nobody must move. At that particular time, nobody will now say, no, I have right to move. If you move at that time, you are now moving against the law. And as such, that right has already been taken away. So when you are caught working under that system or in that time, you are guilty and you can be penalized for doing that because you are working at a time where the law or when the law has taken that right away from all the citizens. How about during curfew? Alright? The same thing applies. Government can say between this time and this time, nobody must move. If you move at that time, you have gone against your freedom of movement. Okay, how about in a place where a military zone where they keep ammunition, weapons, and guns, and you have seen it out of bound. So anytime you say out of bound, it's a statement that your freedom of movement has been restricted away from this environment. So if you now say that it doesn't matter, I am a Nigerian, I want to work. If you work at that time, if you are caught, you can face the penalty because out of bound means be careful. Your movement in this area is limited. The next one is freedom of speech. This one says that all citizens have right to speak their mind, to say how they feel. So even to even protest, we don't like what the government is doing, we don't like what they are saying. However, freedom of speech allows you to talk, to say your mind, as we say in Nigeria, to say how you feel. For example, you can come to the national television and say, for me, I feel that the government of the day is not doing fine because of A, B, C, and D. Nobody can penalize you because you are always saying your mind. However, as much as you have freedom of speech, you have limitations. There's something we call libel and slander or defamation. So because you have freedom of speech, you can say anything. If you now pick anybody and you begin to run them down, say what they did not do, or you begin to abuse them that they did not do, in that situation, what you are doing is you are working against their own reputation. And as such, you can be sued to court. You can be penalized for that because you have freedom of speech, but there must not be defamation. Imagine you say, I can talk anyhow, you now pick a product, and you say, well, this product you are seeing here, I don't want to pick anyone out. I say, so the product you are seeing now, so this product is not good because of this, because of that. When you are saying that thing, you are thinking, because of course, I have freedom of speech. You are already defaming that product. You are committing a demerit, an injury on that product, the manufacturer. Even the government of the day, you can say your mind, but not into excess. If you do that into excess, you can be penalized. So the next one is right to economy. Right to economy states that every citizen of a nation has right to tap into the natural resources of a nation for wealth creation. So you can also state that every citizen has the right to engage in business for the sake of profit making. So if you're a Nigerian, you have right to do business according to how you are permitted by your capital, of course, and of course by the law of the land. Which means you can enter into the bush and see any natural resource and tap them and manufacture them. And of course, you can make profit from it. You are permitted. However, I told you that when you say the right, you must say the exception. The exception to this is there are some resources that are not tappable, so to say. There are some resources that are not within your use. For example, if you discover crude oil in your land, crude oil is a national asset, you must go and tell the government. Even if you see some of these natural resources, many of them you must inform the government before you begin to tap them because they are major natural resources. So unlike saying you have a palm tree in your house that you can just tap palm wine and drink, those ones are normal. But if you see like diamonds, like gold, these are natural assets or national assets. So when you see them, you can begin to now, if you have mine in your compound and begin to do it, it's illegal. When you are caught, you can't be jailed because it's against the law. That's the exception to that. Freedom of religion. This one states that every citizen has the right to profess any faith or religion of their choice, and they will be permitted. If you want to do religion, anyone you want to do, the law says do anyone you want to do, we are in support. However, there is an exception. Exception is any religion that stands as an harm to the society is not permitted. For example, confraternity and cultism. There could be circles of religion, but yet their existence is injurious. The last one I'm going to mention is right to property. But remember, all this we are saying is just for enlightenment's sake. You're going to do them in exams, very careful, I'm sure about that. If you have, I'm sure you know how to discuss one after the other, and also the limitation. But essentially, I wish we all can take all these things one after the other and become enlightened citizens. In this regard, we know our rights and duties, so nobody would come and bamboozle, as we use that language, bamboozle you on anything. The last one I'm going to mention is right to own properties. If you're a Nigerian or if you are a legal member of any society, you are permitted to own any property of your choice. And nobody will penalize you. For example, you can buy 100 houses in one day. It's your own. Register them in your own name. And according to what the law of the land permits, property law. So you can do all these things. Every citizen has right to own property, unlike maybe even a stranger. However, there is an exception to this one too, because there are some properties that you need license for. And what are these properties? Imagine you want to go and acquire gun. You know, they say we have right to property, so you want to go and get gun. No, you must acquire these things with licenses. For example, even some things like maybe jets and some of this, you must have license to get them. You want to buy the whole marine, you must have license to get them. Some properties can be acquired and nobody will hold you, but some you will need license to acquire them. So that's that about fundamental human rights and the different types that we have. Now straight to, because when we talk about the rights of citizens, we must also talk about the duties. So right talks about what you will enjoy, while duties talk about your own what you are going to do in return for the state. So the first one, very popular, very common, is the fact that all citizens must pay tax. Alright, tax is your commitment to the administration of the state. And how is it paid? On anything you buy, on the income you make, you pay tax to the government. So it's part of the duties of citizens that must be ensured. The next one is obeying the laws. It is expected that all citizens should obey the law if they will also continue to enjoy the benefits from the state. The ability to enjoy the right is also predicated, alright, or is hanging on the belief that you also are going to be an obedient citizen obeying the laws. The next one is it's expected for all citizens to perform their civil rights or civic right, which is the right to vote in an election. Even if you are not voted for, you must vote. It is expected. The next one is respect for national heritage. For example, it's expected that when they are singing national anthem, you must stand. Alright? Or when you see, you must not use the Nigerian flag to untie wood. If you are caught, you can be penalized. If you are caught using Nigerian flag to wash to mop, you can be penalized, because these are seen as national heritage and which must be respected and kept as much as possible. Also, we're saying that you must also have respect for national properties. So now we have talked about the duties of citizens. We'll go straight into the functions of government. That is, what are those things that the government of our societies must do for us, because we of course voted them into office. Now the first one, which is the most profound, is that government must ensure the protection of lives and properties. Remember, I told us earlier that the most fundamental right of all citizens is the right to life. So if it is the right to life, it also means that that must be the most profound function of their government. So the number one function of government is protection of lives and properties. The second one is maintenance of laws and order, which means when laws are made, they must now be ensured that they are followed. And government will always do this through the use of the police force to ensure that laws are kept and orders are maintained. But for the protection of lives and properties, they have everything, the armed forces. Anything can be used to ensure that citizens' lives are preserved. So the third one is administration of justice. And this is, of course, the function of the judiciary, because they must make sure that nobody is cheated, not even against the government. So they must ensure that everyone is given due judgment, everyone is treated as due for whatever wrong they have done, whatever right they have also done. So they must ensure that justice is served, equality is maintained, or equity is ensured, as the case may be. The next one is provision of basic social amenities like good roads. In fact, I feel that government must open up back to this assignment in this regard. Any government in a working system must ensure that social amenities are easily made available. For example, the amenities like good roads, or like schools, like electricity, like water supply, and many others. This is again one function of government that is very germane, crucial, and important. The next one is provision of employment opportunities. The government must ensure also that those who are qualified to work and are ready to work can get what to do. It's also a very important function of government. The next one is that they must also ensure that they protect the fundamental rights of their citizens in whatever way they can do that. They must ensure that their citizens can have properties, everything they must enjoy, they allow them to enjoy. Finally, they must ensure economic development. How? Investments or bringing in investors from anywhere to make sure that the economic welfare and the standard of living of the citizen is well kept and made decent as much as possible. So these are the functions and many others, many international relations and many other examples of many other functions of government. That will be all for now for the fundamental human rights that we are going to be attending to. But remember, you need to share this one with your friends so they can also see what you are seeing. If you have any question, use the comment section. We are going to attend to it immediately. So if there's any other area you want us to discuss again, or you want us to explain again, just do well to use the comment section for your questions and for your intervention as it is. Also, if you have not subscribed, please do that now. So when we send any other content for any episode next, you can see it and have access to it. Thank you very much. That will be all for now. See you in the next class. Bye for now.